things people talk about a desire to be successful, all of the elements.
Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace dropping in on you. I hope that everybody has had a great weekend. It has been a very rejuvenating and blessed weekend for the wife and I. Took some well deserved and necessary time away together, and so I'm really feeling good right now. Look, I'm not going to be that long with you this morning, but I do want to direct you to the description box and check out some of the resources that we have available, and feel free to take advantage of them. Some of them are paid for more intense and focused and expedited results, and a lot of it is free resources. You can always go to the site and see what's offered there by way of free and paid resources, but there are some specifics in the box that you can take advantage of immediately. I encourage you to do so. On that note, I'm going to move right into what I want to talk to you about on this Monday morning. Hopefully, you have committed to starting your week off on the right note. It's so important to start your day and your week and your month off on the right note, because how you start things presents and produces the personality, the mindset, and the expectations and anticipations of how you're going to engage that day, that week, that month, and even that year. It's so important to understand the power of perceived beginnings. And while the calendars change and the idea and concepts of time change, the meaning and representations of these different times and beginnings have a very powerful influence on how we see the world. We start a day, some people start their days in the evening, some people start their days in the morning. But whenever you start your day, that's the time you need to have the most control of your mindset, your thoughts, your anticipations, your projections, your beliefs about how your day is going to go, and your participation in influencing those days. I want to talk to you real briefly today about a concept that's extremely important in how you start your day, how you live your life, period. And that is whether you're going to be a person who blames or looks to change. Something my grandfather told me a long time ago, and I've shared this with you multitudinous times about different things because it's so applicable in so many different areas of your life. And that is that he said, son, you're going to be in one of three places your entire life. Your life is going to be a cycle of being in these three different places. You're either going to be going into a storm, in a storm, or coming out of a storm. He says that's the cycle of life. You don't get around it. You're not going to be able to maneuver or negotiate yourself out of it. In other words, you're not going to circumvent the storms of life. The vicissitudes of life are going to roll into your paradise in unpredicted intervals, and you're going to have to deal with it. And how you deal with it is so important. He says you're going to want, when you find yourself in the storm, to look for someone to blame. You're going to want to look for someone that caused this storm, and don't waste your time too much in doing it. You want to understand how you got there, but don't spend too much time looking for someone to blame, because 90% of the time it's you. You chose to let someone in. You chose to go left when you should have gone right. You chose to listen to poor advice. You chose to let someone have access to your life in a way that they did not deserve to. Yes, they did it to you, but you let them in. So don't get caught up in that. What you need to focus on is your number one responsibility when you're in the storm. Your number one responsibility when you're in the storm is to ensure that you come out a better man than when you went in. That's your number one responsibility. Come out a better man. Let the storm shape you. Let the storm mold you. Let the storm strengthen you. Let the storm refine you. That's your responsibility as a man, son, is to make sure you don't come out the storm the same way that you went in. That is so important. That is so important. Another thing he would say is, after coming out of the storm, it's immensely important that you sit up and you actually apply what you've learned and what you've gained as far as coming out of the storm. So, in essence, it's really important that we stop trying to find people to blame and start looking for ways to change. You're going to be in a situation multiple times over the course of your life where you will need to actually change. You're going to want to point your finger and blame people. Excuse me. You're going to want to point your finger and blame people for what's going on in your life. And a lot of times it will be people doing things to you. But ultimately, what's going to make the difference in your life is how much you invest in changing who you are. Because you can't change people. People are going to be who they are. They're going to show you who they are. They're going to present it to you. And your idea of thinking, because I'm me, they're going to be different than they've always been, is what gets us in a lot of trouble. Thinking that people will change because I'm a good person. People will change because I do things a certain way. People are going to show you, and if you don't take clear understanding of what they're showing you, you get caught up. And it's easy to point the finger and blame them, but they showed you. They showed you. You just didn't pay attention. So what do you need to do? You need to change. Change your perception. Change your focus. Change how you respond to adverse behavior, because you're not going to completely escape adverse behavior in this life, in this world, with people. There are a bunch of people that are sitting up and just because you're you, won't like you. Just because you have decided to make something of yourselves, won't like you. Just because you've decided you're not going to be a representation of where you started, but you're going to be a representation of your design. They won't like you, and they will make it a point to disrupt what you're trying to become. And then if you allow it, it's on you. So you've got to actually say, instead of blaming people for everything that I'm going to change who I am, not to become evil, not to become what's the word I'm looking for? Not to become hostile, not to become angry, not to become bitter, but to become wiser, to become more focused, to become aware of just how important it is to guard my circle. Become aware of how important it is to define who I am at a level that my behavior guards me against people. When you get to a certain level and you start to live life a certain way, you'll find that your very nature will repel people. Your very spiritual position and understand. See, when you know who you are, you emanate the energy of your identity, and that alone will push people back, because their energy doesn't reconcile with your energy. But you've got to become that. You've got to be evolving. You got to be growing. You got to make up in your mind that I'm not going to be who I used to be, because there's something better out there for me. I have never in my life, in any day of my 53 years, woke up and said, I've made it. I've never woke up and said that, oh man, I finally made it. I've had some unbelievable highs, but I never thought I made it. And I found some unbelievably lows, but I never thought that was the end. I understand that every day I get to wake up and become something better if I choose to. If I choose to be better, I will become better. It doesn't matter the outside influences. It doesn't matter what other people think of me. I've never been defined by the random opinion of minimal-minded people. I've taken the advice of those that I perceive to have a true care and concern of my personal interest. I've taken their advice. I've taken their leadership as I should, but I've always been aware of who I am, so no one can come along and tell me I'm anything less. I don't need anybody's approval or approbation to sit up and tell me what I am. I know who I am. I know whose I am. I know what I am. I know what I'm capable of, and I'm living every day to become closer to the design's ultimate goal. So you can make a choice. You can be a blamer, where you're blaming everybody. You're always, see, when you start to throw the finger of blame, you immediately become a victim, because when you blame people, you give them power. And when you give them power, you become helpless. And when you become helpless, it's all about what they're doing to you instead of how you're responding. But when you sit up and say, okay, I see who you are, and I've decided that you're not going to have a negative effect on me. I've decided that I'm going to change and evolve into someone that you can't even reach. See, I don't have to fight what can't reach me. Do you understand what I'm saying? We spend a lot of time fighting battles on basement levels that we shouldn't be fighting, because we should be ascending to something higher. You've got to make up in your mind that you're going to live life at the level of your design, and not in the sphere of other people's thoughts, opinions, expectations, and beliefs about who you are and what's possible for you to accomplish. You got to start living your life based on the design, based on your potential, based on your purpose. There's no room and time for blaming. Something happens, you look at it, you evaluate it, you respond to it, you make the necessary changes to elevate and to lift you. When I work with my clients, it's about evaluating where you are. When I'm looking at in sitting down for the first time with a client, it's about evaluating where you are. And then saying, okay, let's get a clear understanding about where you're going. See, now that we understand where you are and where you're going, we can sit up and shape and fix a path to get to the destination. And we understand that along this path there will be obstacles. But we don't become fixated on the obstacles. We keep our eyes on the destiny. For those of you who are Christian, Paul says, I press towards the mark for the prize of a higher calling. In other words, there's a lot going on, but my eyes are fixed on the prize. There are a lot of people pushing and pulling and prodding, but my eyes are fixed on the prize. There are a lot of people trying to talk you down or speak ill of you or remind you of your past, but your eyes are fixed on the prize. The destination, the destiny. And I love the idea of destiny. And you're saying, why is that? Because when you understand the idea or the concept of destiny, it shapes your idea of where you're at and the influence you have, and it gives you a confidence that's unshakable. And what do you mean? See, someone defined this actually. It was in a movie called Deja Vu with Denzel Washington and Paula Patton and a couple other people. And there's this guy who Denzel actually travels back in time to try to stop from bombing a ferry, excuse me. And the guy sitting across the table from Denzel Washington, and Denzel's doing all this stuff because he's trying to stop this bombing. And the guy looks at him and says, do you understand? Do you know the definition of destiny? And Denzel says, what? And the guy says, the more you try to stop it, the more you ensure it happens. When you feel that way about your destiny, that the people in front of you that have positioned themselves as obstacles are actually meant to be there, and they're only going to ensure what they're trying to stop will actually happen. That's the definition of destiny. That you have been designed and created and given a purpose. And the only way you fail at destiny is if you choose to quit. Nothing and no one can stop you from achieving the destiny that is implanted in your DNA. That's my challenge to you today. Start to live life at the level of your design. Start to live life with an anticipation that you are going to have an impact on the world, and that you're going to grow each and every day intentionally, choosing to take on and take in something that improves and refines you, that you're not going to cower down at the sight or the engagement of obstacles and challenges and hardships that you're going to make up in your mind that no matter what comes, I'm going to finish. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to finish. I don't care what I have to overcome. I'm going to finish. That's my challenge. Finish. Evolve. Change. Don't be shaken by the vicissitudes of life. Don't be shaken by delay. Don't be shaken by disappointment. Don't be shaken by hardships and frustrations. Don't be shaken by the hatred of those around you. Evolve into someone that can overcome it. You don't get what you want in this life. You get what you are. You get what you'll become. If you become someone who is capable, you will have what you desire. No one can stop you from becoming capable. No one can stop you from evolving. That's on you. You can spend your life blaming, or you can spend your life changing. The question is, what will you choose? On that note, I'm going to get out of here. Like I said, I would love to work directly with a few of you. The information is in the description box. You can email me directly, or you can go to the site and sign up. Whatever you want to do. There are some free resources. There are also links to the books, either in the description box or at the site. But like I say, I have a few spaces open, and I would love to work with a few of you guys to really, truly focus on and narrow down and go after what it is that you desire to do in your life and show you just how possible it is. I tell people all the time, it's not that someone has some special track to success or someone has some access. Access, the great George Bernard Shaw once said that those who get on in this life are those who wake up in the morning and go out and find the opportunity that they need. And if the opportunity does not exist, they create one. It's not about having some special access to something that someone doesn't have. It's about having a mindset to say that that's what I desire and that's what I'm going to have, and I'm going to do everything within my power to go and get it. I will not be shaken by delay. I will not be shaken by obstacles. I will not be concerned with hatred and opinion of those who can't see the greatness in me. I am going to rise to the occasion. I am going to answer the bell. I am going to meet the challenge. That's it for you. And on that note, as I always say, I'm going to live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. And all that means is that I'm not going to take my potential to the grave with me. I'm going to spend it in this life. I'm going to spend every ounce of it in this life. I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to share my potential. I'm going to invest in growing my potential. I'm going to exert my potential energy to impact lives. I'm going to write. I'm going to speak. I'm going to do videos. I'm going to write more books. I'm going to live to change lives. That's my reason for being here, is to let people know you're not stuck in the moment in which you live. You're not stuck in what you were born into. You're not stuck in the trauma you've experienced. You can heal. You can grow. You can overcome. I will die on E. Will you? On that note, I'm out of here. You guys have an unbelievable day. And you have an unbelievable week. It doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges, that you're not going to have setbacks, that you're not going to have things that don't go the way you want them to go. It means that it won't shake you. You won't become frenetic and unglued. The word says, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, through prayer and supplication, make your requests known. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and mind. And your hearts and mind is your conscious and your subconscious. When you study the word, you find out that that's all. The heart, cardia in Greek and leb in Hebrew, is talking about the subconscious, the thing that controls 96% of your behavior. The mind, when spoken in the Bible, which is in Greek nous, is talking about the conscious mind, the things you think about and are aware of, and you use willpower. But it's going to guard your hearts and minds. You got to sink into the understanding that I was built for this. There's absolutely nothing that I'm going to go through that I'm not built for. No, it's not comfortable. No, it's not easy. It wasn't meant to be, but it was meant to be rewarding. And I understand that when I stand my ground and I refuse to bend, that the world has to yield, that the universe has to yield, because there's a God in me that says I can win. I challenge you. Step up, step out, and live. On that note, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have that unbelievable day. Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick Wallace here, dropping in with a little special announcement. For those who have followed me for any stretch of time, you know, outside of the businesses that I run, like Myriad Business Solutions, the Visionetics Institute, Odyssey Media Group, I also do a great deal of work inside of the inner city communities in Houston, Dallas, and other areas. I'm asking now, as we push a fundraiser, that you support what the Odyssey Project is doing in the inner cities, especially with programs like Black Men Lead, which is a rite of passage initiative, and Restoring Ghetto's Forgotten Daughters, which is a program focused on helping young girls, but boys as well, suffering from childhood sexual abuse, rape, molestation, domestic abuse, absentee fatherhood, and so many other things. The information will be in the box. Thank you.
From a conceptual perspective, people talk about a desire to be successful. All of the elements